My name is Dania, and I am joined today with Daniel and Katia to walk you through the steps of preparing roast beef. The Sunday roast is a traditional British main meal served typically on Sundays after church. Eating a large meal following church services is common to all of the continents of Europe, as well as with other Christian countries. But the Sunday roast variant of this meal is uniquely English. That consists of roast meat, roast potatoes, and accompaniments such as stuffing, vegetables, and gravy. The leftover is often used in sandwiches and sometimes is used to make hash. Besides being served in its original homeland, the tradition of a Sunday dinner has been a major influence in the food culture in the English-speaking world. Roast dinner is also traditionally a popular dish in Ireland, the United States, New Zealand, as well as in South Africa, as it is common to serve the Sunday roast with rice there. Roast beef might sound fancy and complicated to make, but it's actually quite simple. Once you learn how to cook your roast beef, you will be able to replace all the deli meat you've been buying at the store, and your life will be so much flavorful and delicious. We promise. There are a few mainstays to cook the roast beef that will help make your roast amazing and tender, which consists mainly in how to choose your beef, how to season it, what temperature to cook it at, and how to slice it. We'll cover how to master all of this in this video. We'll move on to Daniel, and he will show you how to make some tasty roast beef together, and then Katia will take it from there and tell you more about the dish.
Thank you, Danya. We're now going to dive into the preparation of the roast beef. A very important thing to remember is to make sure that your roast is completely thawed. You'll also want to take the roast out of the refrigerator about 30 minutes before you start cooking it to bring it closer to room temperature, and the closer it is, the better it is to cook. Now, after you pull the roast out of the refrigerator, you can use that time to get your materials that you need prepped, your ingredients, and of course, one of the first things is you need to brew some coffee. I usually make 3 cups of coffee, and the important thing to remember is that it's dark roast and do not add any sugar or cream to it. Now, while the coffee is brewing, you can get your seasonings together. You'll need 2 bay leaves, and you can set those aside. And then you'll also need a teaspoon of ground oregano, and then you'll need a tablespoon of ground sea salt and a tablespoon of fresh black pepper. And you can put all of those items into a small container and set it aside for later, and that way it'll be easier to put on the roast when that time comes. You'll also need to select 2 medium-sized onions, and you'll want to slice these up in whatever fashion suits you. Personally, what I do is I remove the skins, and then I slice them into quarters, and then I dice them up from there. But you can slice them any way you'd like to add to your roast. And then one ingredient that I really like, and it adds a lot of flavor to it, is garlic. And the recipe typically calls for 1 clove of garlic. However, I usually put about 3 or 4 in, and you'll want to mince that. And to do that, you're going to need a garlic press. That'll make it a whole lot easier for you to prep your garlic to put into the roast. After you have prepped those items, then you'll want to pull out a skillet, and I prefer a cast iron skillet. It's the best way to cook the meat and brown it before you put it into the crock pot. Now you'll want to put the pan on your stove top at medium-high heat, and when this pan begins to get warmer, it may smoke a little bit. That's typical of cast iron. That's the point where you'll go ahead and put about a 1/4 cup of olive oil into your cast iron skillet. And you'll want to make sure that the olive oil coats the entire base of the skillet. And when it begins to smoke just a little bit, that's when you'll take your roast that's been warming to room temperature, and you'll put it into the skillet and brown it for about 5 minutes, and then carefully take it out of the skillet, turn it over, and brown the other side for another 5 minutes. And when you've browned the roast on both sides, then you will have your crock pot, and you will be ready to put your roast into the crock. You'll put that in, and then you'll pour the ingredients that you mixed earlier over the top of the roast, and then pour 1 cup of hot coffee over the top of the roast. The reason that I make 3 cups is that sometimes while you're cooking, you may just want a little coffee for yourself. So use 1 cup for the roast, and then the other 2 cups, feel free to drink or dispose of if you don't like to drink coffee. And then take your bay leaves, put those on top of the roast, cover the crock pot with the lid, turn it on low heat, and set your timer for 8 to 9 hours. Now, when the roast is ready, remove it from the crock pot, and be sure to get rid of those bay leaves. Do not eat the bay leaves. They are very bitter if you eat them. However, they do add a lot of flavor to the meat. So you can use the juices in the crock pot, the onions that have cooked in there, and you can go ahead and put those over the top of your meat when you're prepared and ready to eat. So we guarantee this is a great recipe. It'll taste great. So bon appetit.
A quick cleanup, and now that the hard part is over, you can finally sit back, relax, and enjoy your roast. A great way to serve it is with a side of potatoes, any vegetable of choice such as broccoli or a side salad, as well as a nice glass of red wine for those of you who are of age. This roast is great for a Sunday dinner. You can even make an event and gather all your friends and family, have them bring a side dish or lend a hand in cooking the roast, and then at the end, you can all sit down and enjoy the meal you have cooked together. Along with a Sunday dinner, this roast also makes a great holiday meal. It's perfect to feed the whole family during the celebrations, and I guarantee you everyone will love it and it will be a big hit. This meal really is an all-around easy and tasty dish. We have given you all of the ingredients and necessary steps to complete this roast today, as well as how and when to serve it. You don't need to be a professional chef to ace this one, so for all of you amateur chefs out there, we hope we have encouraged you to take a swing at it. As for everyone else, I hope we have sparked some interest in cooking within all of you and that you are inspired to go home today and get into the kitchen yourself. On behalf of the 3 of us, thank you.